to
Hold on.
Manas.
Sorry. It just takes a second to the Zoom and the YouTube to talk to each other.
After Heroes Against Hunger, Jenna is just the director extraordinaire. She knows all about production.
Take it away.
Okay, thank you. Welcome everybody to Manas Breaking Bread for May. Thank you for being here. This is our second out of 3 series on the next new normal that we started last month. We would like to continue to give the voice to our participants in this platform. And we are grateful that Dave will be one of our speakers today. And we also want to thank Sue, who reached out to us after the last session because she would like to be involved. We will work with her to make that happen. So please reach out to us if you want to lend your voice in this platform. Our very active participant, Catherine, is not able to join today. So my name is Agam Bianda. I'm the Community Engagement Manager at Mana Food Center. I'm here with Jenna, because she will be working behind the scene. Thank you so much, Jenna. In our agenda today, we will be starting as usual with our new and good. Then we'll be giving the opportunity to share the progress we made from the last meeting. After that, we will turn it over to our speakers, Dave and Jose, who will be sharing what they prepared from the discussion we got last month and through the social change wheel. Then we will break rooms for 15 minutes to discuss and co-create what we think the new normal will look like. After that, each group will report out. And last but not the least, we will make our commitment and close the session. With that in mind, we just remind people that we are recording today and it's time to share our new and good. I don't know who would like to go first.
Yeah, I'll go first.
Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, it doesn't have anything necessarily to do with food distribution or any of the things that we're going to be talking about today. But through my fraternity, Alpha Phi Alpha, we are in partnership with the African American Health Program. And our effort is to make sure that folks get tested. And even though we have a lot of vaccines, you know, a good number of the population has been vaccinated. We know we've got ways to go. Even though you are vaccinated, we still are encouraging residents in Montgomery County to get tested because, as you know, we can still carry it, even though through the vaccination, we may not be as affected as we normally would. So that effort has been going well. I volunteered at our fraternity house on Randolph Road to actually make that happen. People are coming in. We're spreading flyers around the neighborhood at businesses, just getting people to come in and getting that quick test. So that's been going well. We're going to continue that throughout the week. And then we'll see how it goes. We also have some dates set up for June and July as well. So a little thing that we're doing that I'm involved in that I'm kind of happy about.
Thank you so much, Dave, for sharing. Anyone else? Do you want me to call on someone?
Oh. No. I feel it's almost a tradition for me to talk about my garden. And it's usually bad and sad. So I'm glad I have a little bit of new and good. First of all, one of our members, Robin, who I believe is in Boston this week, shared with me 3 tomato seedlings. That was a week ago. She taught me how to put them in the garden well and brought me some fertilizer. It was great. And the deer have still not eaten them, and it's been a whole week. So that's new and good. And I've also gotten a couple of roses. Last year, my roses did not bloom. So I'm just very happy to be surrounded by growth. and beauty.
Have the roses bloomed yet, Jackie?
I'm sorry?
Have the roses bloomed yet?
Yes, I've gotten some roses.
These ones that I planted are probably not going to bloom because nothing is coming up yet.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Sorry. I'll bring you a little bouquet, David.
Okay.
Thank you, Jackie, for update us about your garden. Someone else, please.
Well, I'm also gardening at home, and we have purchased some starts from a local farmer, and about 1/10 of them are planted, and the others are sitting outside getting watered every morning. That's the extent of it.
Great. Thank you. Anyone else?
So if we're sticking with gardening, I have a little area of my garden out front that always gets annuals. And I was very concerned about getting them planted before the cicadas attacked, because I knew that I would not want to be out there in the midst of them. And I did get them planted, and actually the neighbors said that they liked what I did, and my irises came up. So I'm a happy camper, and having flowers out there really brightens my day when I have the few chances I have to walk outside.
Thank you for sharing. Anyone else?
Sharing? What's the question?
Oh, just arrived. We are sharing our new and good.
Oh, I have one. I guess there's a few new and good in life, but I am newly married this month.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Congrats, Priya. Anyone else? So we will move forward because we spend a lot of time about the technical issues. So we would like now to share our progress about the commitment we took from the last meeting. I don't know if someone wants to jump in and say what he or she did, what action you took during from the last meeting to now about what we were discussing on the next or new normal. I remember we were talking about the social will, change will, and we were talking about some of the activities that we can take or work on during our time from the last meeting to now. And I know David took the commitment to work on the social will framework, and he will be sharing his work with us today. But we had other people who took the commitment to also share the social will, and we want to hear from you.
Unfortunately, your transmission was kind of broken up there, so I'm not sure if you can hear me okay, but I couldn't hear the last thing. I think my name was mentioned, but I wasn't sure if I was supposed to say
I'm hearing you. Okay. I'm hearing okay. I was saying that you took the commitment to do a kind of framework from the social will, and you will be sharing your progress today. But I wanted someone else to tell us if they have something to share about those commitments we took from the last meeting.
Okay.
So anyways, if we don't have anyone, we will just turn it over to Dave and Jose, who have prepared something for us, and they will have the floor to introduce themselves and to also share what they have prepared. Over to you, Dave and Jose.
All right. So again, folks, it's an honor to be able to be with you all and be a part of breaking bread, which I just love the concept of breaking bread. And again, being a newbie, new to the board, I just wanted to kind of, as they say, get in where you fit in. And so I was really intrigued by the approach that was introduced by Jackie last week, and that is the social wheel. So at this point, maybe we can go ahead and share the information that Jose and I have put together. And maybe if you can go into slideshow mode. Yeah, that actually we're looking at the speaker. Can you flip that display setting? Okay, great. So hit the display, actually go back, hit display setting, see the drop down on the display setting, and then swap the view. See if that will work. There it is. All right. So anyway, again, we wanted to put this together. You know, again, the entire concept of creating a new normal kind of dictates to not only MANA, but many organizations. Everyone is trying to figure it out. And I think this wheel, you can change the slide, begins to represent a new way forward. So in other words, we're all trying to figure out how we can come together, use different strategies to come up with something that's going to be effective in this new environment. You know, COVID has made, obviously we know this, has had an incredible impact on how we do business, how we serve our communities, and all of that. So this wheel that we're going to talk about a little bit is kind of a way in which we can begin to lay a new foundation and put a new framework together. So next slide. As you can see, we're getting ready to go through and look at this slide. The way it's built is you've got the outer ring, and this was, by the way, built by a scholastic, you know, a college-based program that's looking at different ways to kind of make a difference and impact organizations and society. But the outer wheel deals with some of the efforts that go outside of the collegiate community. And then you've got these inner wheels. And if you can imagine this rotating, and you rotate it to line things up to kind of create something new and different as far as how you want to approach an issue. And that's what I thought was really unique about it. You know, so if you, one of the things that I'm going to do is try to see if I can animate this thing. I know there's a way to do it, and I want to try to move it around because I think being able to, if you can imagine aligning these things up, you could create a new strategy. And that's why I think it's very unique. If you can go to the next slide, that'll be great. So what we're going to talk about, and Jose's got, he's going to really hone in on some key ideas that he has. But what I wanted to do was just talk about just what I envision to be the way we could possibly use this thing, because it is unique. So this section here that I'm just going to talk about very briefly is aligning the breaking bread principles that MANA has already established, and see if we can, depending on what we're trying to do, look at the toolkit components and see where we can begin to build something, build a particular initiative. So if you can go to the next slide, what you see here is a kind of a layout of some key breaking bread principles. Those are represented by the row at the top. And so as you can see, you've got something called conversations, and you've got something called activities. And these ones in bold are the ones that I actually kind of took the liberty of establishing, only because when I read what they consisted of, I said, man, this is probably a good word to use to kind of encapsulate what breaking bread has been about. And as you can see, the conversations and this was taken directly from the Breaking Bread website that we have, to create space and intentional conversations to nurture dialogue around critical issues such as race, class, and a culture of dependency. Activities, a series of activities designed to build connections across lines of differences. Differences of race, differences of, how we were brought up, all these things. Gatherings to create gatherings to include community members that we serve, board members, and a range of community supporters and decision makers, and bringing them together to have some solution generating discussion. Understanding, helping those involved understand the ever changing needs of the people that Manna and Breaking Bread serves, and perhaps more importantly, try to, through these gatherings and understanding, increase their potential or take advantage of the potential they have. The last one here was networks, and that's bringing organizations, people together, sparking new networks that will promote self-sufficiency and sharing prosperity. So those are the Breaking Bread basic principles. I'm sure there are more, but I'm kind of doing this as an example. Then what I did was I said, okay, let me look at the social wheel and let me start playing around with it. And in my mind, even though I couldn't spin it, I'm still looking at it different ways. And I was like, okay, how could this line up? So if you look at the social wheel, and I know we looked at a picture of it, all those attributes of the social wheel are color coded. So what I did is I said, okay, let me take a look at it. I wanted to color code this so I can keep it fresh in my mind and try to build this construct. So the olive color that you see there on the first circle to the left is referred to in the social wheel as deliberative and reflective dialogue, which kind of lines up, right, with conversations. And I did that throughout. All these colored, the lower colored rings on the bottom line up with the colored splotches within the social wheel. I'm just going to take the opportunity to use my camera for a moment just to remind you of how that looks. So what I'm envisioning we can do, and again, my job was just to try to put together a concept, but all of us probably have a lot of different things that you're going to hear from Jose in just a moment. But you can use the social wheel to kind of line up what our core principles are to come up with a new approach in trying to bridge the gaps that we see in our community. So, think of it that way. Think of it as a way to kind of put pieces together that could hopefully come up with your own unique construct on how Breaking Bread can impact our communities. And now, from that, I'm going to go ahead and turn it over to Jose, and he's going to kind of zero in on some of the things that he had in mind using the social wheel. You may be on.
So good day, everyone. My name is Jose Guzman. I am the Public Allies AmeriCorps apprentice, and I've been working under a GAR engine here at Manna Food Center for about 8 months now. Most of my work has dealt with actually calling participants who have come to Manna one time and haven't returned for a variety of reasons. And that's listed out on this slide here, which kind of deals with the same concept, but as a more modular foundation. So just to go over a couple of small details. As of May 14th, I've called 1,098 participants. Roughly half have not answered the calls I made, and it's an understandable concept because people tend to be hesitant to view NPO, like nonprofit organizations, as more as a provider of goods. It's a more one-way sort of transaction. The relationship doesn't go any further than that of a single transaction beneficiary. So we, as the community, would just receive the food, the nonprofit just provides the food. And having been on both sides, just being both the recipient and working within a nonprofit organization, I think there's a change that needs to be made in how we work with community members. Just as a small anecdote, one of my earliest memories having had to depend on receiving food from a nonprofit started when I was a child. my family has gone through rough times, and one of my first memories just dealt with actually going to an Adventist food pantry in Silver Spring. I remember basically going up, since my mom doesn't speak English, I had to do most of the translating. I could vividly remember just essentially walking up, trying to explain what my mom wanted, getting extra food for the time. It was close to December and Christmas, and just not being able to communicate with the person who just stood there with his tablet, just taking names, making sure the line kept moving. So that is basically as part of one of the things I wanted to target with this. So if we could just move on to the next slide. I wanted to explain the benefits of building the bridges between providers and community members. So it essentially gives a voice to community members who have been marginalized and gives us as the nonprofit a perspective into the problems we need to address, fostering a symbiotic relationship. It removes the jadedness of not being heard, prompting more activism in the community as well as interconnection, and we co-create by combining life experiences with institutional power. Working here at MANA, I got the fortunate chance of being able to work at Old Columbia Pike in the market, and just seeing how we actually take the time to basically communicate with those that we serve, holding a very warm relationship, being able to talk with them one-on-one, addressing the problems that they might have and giving them information basically changes the way we actually act with people, not just keeping it as a single transaction, but actually being open, giving them a voice, making sure that they're recognized, that their problems are being heard and they're addressed. I'll address this more in the next slide. So how do we actually do this? We take a sort of customer service oriented human approach, and that's where the social will comes in. We actually hold these conversations, being able to actually talk with them, dialogue with them. They tell us the problems that they have, and we as the nonprofit with the power to be able to address it, hold them hand in hand and basically address those problems together. So we will maintain an emphasis on humanity and make people feel much more welcome and open. And we will keep the staff on hand who speak different languages and help interact with the community people and create a warm environment together. And we also help with allowing employees who interact with people to rest in order to avoid emotional fatigue and burnout, because that's a very real thing. There are a lot of problems we can address, and for those of us like me who actually take these problems to heart and basically can't keep it to ourselves, we need to have that time to be able to reflect, heal, and take a little bit of time to ourselves. And with that, I want to pose the question to the group. What ideas do you have to build these bridges, foster the trust between members of the community and nonprofits? And I thank you all for your time.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Jose and Dave. I will just echo what Jackie just put on in the chat. I love this combination between the lived experience with institutional power. So it was so nice to hear from you. Now, Jose asked the question, and we will go into groups to go into details and see how we can put our own information. Sorry. So, and see how we can put our ideas together and come up with something, a approach about the next or new normal. Sorry for the background noise.
We got a hacker here.
Yeah, sorry about that.
First time I've experienced one.
Yeah, I was saying that we move forward and break the rooms into two so that we can have time to discuss deeply into our ideas about the next new normal based on what Jose shared and what Dave shared. So Jenna, I'm looking at you if you are ready for the rooms.
Sorry, I was dealing with that. It'll take me a second.
Okay. Any reflections?
I will reflect an apology. I put the link out on Twitter to try to help us get the word out, and somebody took advantage of that. I wanted to say to Dave that I really appreciated the overlay between our principles and the wheel. I think it's got power in just visually, but it also reassures me that we're on the right track. And then, as I said in the chat, I think that, Jose's story of talking to hundreds of people and his own lived experience as an individual, combining that with our institutional power, that's what MANA is trying to do from a humble perspective, as say, we've been in the community for all these years, we have this power, but how can we use it to benefit all of our neighbors? And now I am going to go and delete everything I put on Twitter.
Okay, the rooms should be open.
Yeah, just click on join.
Hey, Jenna.
Hi, Angie.
I'm just going to stay here because I just popped on and I'm eating lunch and
Okay.
we have another interview coming up.
No problem.
I'm just hanging out.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh, bye, Jenna. I meant to
Oh,
leave
you're going to the interview.
Yep. Bye.
Bye.
Welcome back. I hope that the discussion in your room was like our discussion, because it was so nice to hear from each other in our room. So now it's time for us to report out, to share what we discuss in our respective rooms. And I don't know if JJ is ready to start.
Oh, sure.
Yeah, thank you.
Sure. So I was inspired by Jose's story and his project. And when we went into the breakout room, the question just really pulled me into both his story and his project. So in the project, he's reaching out and saying, hey, are you out there, you former recipient, participant of MANA? And on the other hand, he's grew up as an immigrant, speaking a different language, having to translate from his mother. And further discussion within the room as we talked, his mom has never learned to speak English. So that's in my view, I looked at that as a conscious rejection of learning to speak English. And I totally understood it. How you're treated as an immigrant, it's like, why do you want to learn the language of these people, the way they treat you, the way you're not welcomed? And I say that because I'm also an immigrant. My family immigrated here. I was 11. I spoke English, but I experienced a gamut of ignorance, racism, prejudices, the whole thing, from my peers not understanding me. And my family immigrated from Trinidad. People constantly said, she's from Jamaica. Just, they don't even know geography. And then on the other hand, the teachers, my white teachers would be, oh, you speak so well. Oh, you'll do great in this. You know, right? And even at 11, 12, I could see through that. I could see they were singling me out as special against my other Black American, but my other Black students in the class. And so all of that to say, the idea that I had, my big idea for the day was, if we could find a way to be inviting to participants, and I say this out of, I've referred family members that I have, extended family members in the east part of the county to use the MANA services, and some of them have, but they're just coming in to use it and leave, which apparently is what most people are doing. So although I don't know what kind of response it will have, I think everything has to do with how we present it. I think there should be an embedded invitation to volunteer in a welcoming way. I don't know what that is. I don't know, you know, how that's manifested on a website, whether it's a 15-second cartoon or what, but having a way of embedding an invitation to volunteer as part of the process of receiving food, so that people see and feel that it's a community of people who are giving and receiving, and, you know, sometimes more than others. And rather than having volunteer services be separate and after the fact, but embedded in a true invitation, and having that invitation be repeated in welcoming ways, because I feel like the MANA staff is very welcoming. And I think people respond well to sweetness. And I think that when there's a language barrier, like with Jose's mom, it's harder, because we tend to do things like talk louder when people don't understand us, which is not very welcoming, right? And it feels very harsh. So now, of course, MANA is very evolved, and, you know, you have different language interpreters and all of that. But from the experience that I got of Jose, and I've seen that interaction at public schools where I'm waiting at the school secretary's desk and there's an immigrant parent with a child who's doing the translating. And I was sharing that, you know, growing up in Brooklyn at a time when Brooklyn was more segregated, much more than it is today. I lived in Flatbush. I went to school in Bay Ridge. Bay Ridge was an Italian neighborhood. We had Italian parents, and from my fellow students, who didn't speak a lick of English. Their kids in high school were translating for their parents. And if you're discriminated against, as they were when they came here, they'll live in their own little village. They're not going to mix. So all of that to say, I think maybe we can find some friendly, inviting ways to be with people about volunteering from the very start. You know, like, hey, you know, you can also be a volunteer, give and receive. However, you know, I'll leave it to people like Jenna to frame things like that. But you got me.
Thank you for sharing, JJ.
Sure.
Yeah, I don't know if someone is ready to share from the second group, or if Jose want to add something to that discussion.
If no, I'll share. Oh, sorry. Go ahead. Sorry.
No, Jose.
Yeah, I was just going to add that I just feel that there's no real one size fits all answer for this, mainly because there's more than one issue at hand. There's a lot of cultural issues, issues with stigma, a generational gap where more of the younger generations tends to be more welcoming and active and inviting compared to most of the older generation. Their parents are more mind your own business types of like interactive with people. They don't say more than they have to. So that's just all I wanted to add on my end.
Thank you so much.
So
go ahead, Andrea.
I think that first of all, from Gigi's point, you're kind of working uphill because of what MANA does. I think people see it as an organization where you go in, you get food, and that's it. And there's no need or no intrinsic reason to think that there's going to be a lot of community involvement. Unlike my organization where we're giving classes, so we're seeing the same people every day. We have the same problem with our Rockville Emergency Assistance Program, where people come in for their need and then they're done. So, I think that you're battling that. I think that the community activities that you have had in the past, and even the opportunities when we get back from pandemic for people to choose their own food and stuff, all encourages that. But I also think that what MANA does incredibly well and can continue to do with these things and your page and everything that Elgin and Cynthia are working on is to provide that information also to nonprofit organizations who are more directly connected with their clients because of what they do, Cornerstone Montgomery and Community Reach and so many other organizations, Everymind, and then have us also put out that information, share that information, because it's coming from a place and a group that they already have a relationship with and have trust in. And by us giving you our seal of approval, I think that it just helps. And then you've already pulled them in, and as they attend some of your events and your opportunities, they're more likely to go, oh, and MANA is also one of our trusted organizations. And it's not just a place where I'm going to go pick up food once a month.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Any other reflection?
Yeah, I just want to say what an incredible idea that is. And, we already do so much to build partnerships. And I think any other initiatives and other ways we can think about pulling in other groups like your group, Andrea, and other nonprofits that you mentioned, those are just really great opportunities. So yes, and everyone check out the link that Jackie posted in our chat to the new community food education site that Andrea mentioned. You can sign up for classes, share that with your people that might be interested. So,
thank you, Elgin. Now we move on to the second group. We want to hear from you.
Well, we were not aware that we were going to lose our fearless leader, David. So we didn't pick a representative, but Andrea was part of our group. And I think that as Elgin and she have just been sharing, we were talking a lot about how do we bring people in who are participants and address some of the things that have already been stated. So I would lean on my teammates in that room to share anything that were missed. And it was interesting to me that what Gigi shared sounded a lot like some of the things that we were talking about too, in terms of how to break down those barriers.
Okay, thank you.
I could add just a little thing, Jackie, but David was kind enough to share screen and bring up his wheel and with all of the options and methods of engagement. And I had not seen it. Other people had, but not recently or something. So that provided some context. And the question is how to reach out, whether people will engage, making sure we do it in multiple methods. Elgin mentioned that, I had asked whether it was in multiple languages and whether it was phone and email and in person, eyeball to eyeball when they're coming to pick up their food. allocations and all that. And he assured me that even text was particularly effective, and that was a new method. And so it was how to engage in various ways.
Thank you so much, Senator. I think I will open now to any other questions or any other reflection, because we hear from both groups that we have to continue to welcome people, our participants. We have to find ways to engage them more. We also have to listen to what they are saying. And we are doing that at MANA, listen to the feedback, listen to the needs of our participants to improve the service that we are providing. And now I will just open up to any other reflection before we move into our commitment.
Go. Sorry. Take care. Great to be with you all. Thanks for all you do.
Thank you for coming. I've been quiet because I've been on the lookout for hackers. I guess we had some fun times while you guys were in breakout rooms.
They are
anyway,
continuing to come.
Don't let anyone in.
Yeah.
Anyway, I have been, this is not a new idea or not a new concept, and we've talked about it in Breaking Breads since Breaking Bread started. But I do often come back to the concept of language and how language creates attitudes and perceptions and culture. And I think one change we made in the language that we use at MANA, I don't even remember how many years ago, is this participant language that we use, which I think is good because it does create this goal and this aspiration to have people really be equal partners in the work. I think there are other places where the language of food assistance sort of lags behind this goal to have mutual participation and reducing the power dynamics that exist inherently, as Andrea was saying, in the work of providing food to people or providing any service to a group of people. So I think about when we write grants, when we write proposals to get funding for particular projects, when doing so, we do tend to lean on, and it's not unique to MANA, we do tend to lean on this story of there are people and they need something and we have the thing, and if you give us money, we'll help people out, right? The whole we will feed the hungry kind of mentality and that language that we use, which I do think sets up, even if we, those people that are here in particular are thinking, no, I don't treat people like that. When people come in to MANA, I see them as full humans. I think it gets into your head in different ways that are unconscious. And so I often wonder how we can shift that language to more of a asset-based, Jose mentioned human-centric language. And it's tricky because I think we often don't know what's going to resonate with the groups that we get money from, and we know we need the money to do the work. So I understand why it is the way it is, but I do often lament that because I do think it has more of an impact than sometimes we think it does.
Yeah, thank you, Jenna.
So interesting, Jenna, because I think that in my mind, I mean, as far as I'm concerned, and I write all the time. So, I know that when I'm writing for one group, I do it one way. And when I'm writing for another group, I do it another way. And you know what, in my mind, if I have to write a specific way to get a grant, okay, whatever, just give me the money. We'll do it however you want me to say it, and then I'll have my own views, right? But I think that what you're talking about a lot is a societal issue, and it's not so much the people who work, although with the participants, or what I use is the word constituent. And I consider that everybody from the people who use our services to the people who volunteer, people who give us funding, etc. I think that the issue is that frequently we're taught that if you need something, you are less. And so it's the people coming in that a lot of them assume that they are being seen as less, no matter how you say it. And I know how welcoming Manna is. I know that you work hard at making sure that everybody is treated the same. And I was so thrilled to hear that Breaking Bread is open to all of your participants and constituents. And so, I don't know who I'm looking at on the screen, and that's wonderful because we all do look the same, right? So I don't know how you get beyond that, but I think that that's the harder issue. And I think that one of the things that has come from COVID is that it has made people understand a little more that all of us are both clients and supporters, right? That all of us can be in a situation where we need assistance in a way that hasn't been realized since at least 2018 2008 in the same way.
Thank you so much for sharing that. It's so important. I can just say that it's true because I have that experience. I was working with people before I joined the team here. I worked as a volunteer, try to outreach the service that Manna is providing to people. And I was talking to many people from my country who are speaking only French. So some of them are here for many, many years. And as Jose was saying, they don't want to learn the language. They don't want to speak English, and they only speak French. But when I reach out to them, I realize that they need someone who they trust. They need someone who will be talking to them without judging them. Because it's a kind of, when they go out and they don't know to speak English very well, people are like, okay, you are coming from Africa, and they are scared about that. And also, we have this culture of when they offer you something for free, in bracket for free, it means that you are very poor, and you don't have a good value. So to break that kind of thing, you have to talk to those people and say, even if Manna is providing food, it's not for free, because they are buying, they are not just taking it from somewhere like this and give it to you. And it's not only you, we have also people, white people or some other color, who are picking up food from Manna. So it's not only you are only you. And the experience with COVID, it's so important because a lot of people were unemployed, and they just realized that even if you have a very, very good job and tomorrow you don't have that job, you can be in need, you can be in the same position as others. So it's so important what you just said. Thank you so much for that. Any other reflection?
Very quickly, I really like what you just said, Agar. It's kind of the perspective of like, we're not, food assistance is probably even the wrong term. We're like food gifting. It's like, we care about you. That's why we're doing this. We're not just saying, woe is you, so here is a food. It's like, we do spend money on this food. And from that perspective, it's like, we we value our farmers. We value stores like Giant that support us. We value our volunteers. We value anybody who donates to us, but we also value you. That's why we take, and I think this is a thing that I've always really admired about Mana, especially when I first started working here, was this kind of idea of giving fresh produce, of caring about people's health. Because to me, that's a step outside. It's not, oh, well, we just want to give you food so you have food, but it's no, actually value your health. I value you as a human being. That's why we do what we do. So it's more of a food gift, not food assistance.
Exactly. Thank you, Cynthia.
And
so, yeah.
I'm just, I love to talk. Some people on here already know that. But with the same idea, I have a slightly different look at this. And I think the idea of a gift sometimes, again, scares people. A lot of times when I'm talking to, especially people who I want to get money from, I have an approach that's a little unusual for nonprofits. And that is that I think that the same with volunteers. When somebody comes to me and they say they want to volunteer because they want to do good in the country, for the community or whatever, I go, whoa, no. Tell me what you get out of it. So I think that part of it is not only that we want to help you, but that by helping the community, we make a stronger community, and that helps us personally. So I think a lot of times it's not that giving you food makes me feel good or that I'm helping you. It's that giving you food helps me. If I'm helping to buy farm food from the farmers, then farmers are able to farm, and I have the ability to get more local, fresh food. If people are healthier, then the chances are that COVID is not going to be as rampant because people have a strong immunity, and therefore I'm protecting me. And I know it sounds like a very selfish way to go, but I think in reality, most of us are really selfish. And admitting that and kind of saying, this is about me, this is not about you. The old breakup line is actually a realistic way to approach things in ways, because it makes it more so that the participants don't feel that it's a handout. They feel like they're doing something for you, not you're doing something for them. It's crazy, I know.
Yeah, that is a nice approach. Yeah, it's like you help someone and you say, okay, it's my pleasure to help you, not your pleasure, but it's mine. So it's also important to do that. Yeah. So, yeah.
I just want to say that when Cynthia, you started talking about, are we giving, are we sharing, how that all works, the tone. The bottleneck is always at the top. And I've noticed this being in this country for so many decades, that the people at the top in the Congress, they talk like that. They talk like it's a handout and that people are trying to cheat. And I think that sets the tone, and it's a constant struggle. I don't see it in the county council. I don't know if it's because they dare not, because it's of the politics of the city, of the county, or if that people are actually involved. I don't know any of that, but I don't see it in the county council. I haven't seen it. I haven't noticed it. So it's definitely, somebody talked about an uphill struggle earlier. I think, it is hard. And I think what we're creating in Montgomery County is, very forward thinking. If I had been introduced to an organization giving food in Norway or Denmark, it would just be another thing. But here, it goes beyond being charitable to this handout thing. And I think, Mana is doing a lot to just make it normal, like, we're a community, and I think that's super important. But it's definitely an uphill struggle to even find the words, because what we're, the incoming tsunami is the Congress and the way they speak. And, That's not, I don't know how much lobbying we can do about that.
Thank you so much. And we have to move forward now, and it's time for us to make our commitment. So what do we want to do from now to the next meeting to improve our new approach, or our how we want to see the next new normal? What action do we want to take individually or in group?
I'll go first.
Yes,
so
thank you.
I'm so intrigued by this conversation we had in our breakout session about how we can get community members engaged in our education classes, and maybe how we can break down some of those barriers. So I want to make the commitment to, between now and next meeting, for us to have some conversations, Cynthia and I, Agar and I'd love to get involved with helping you guys think about that, even from a communication standpoint with Sam's input. So that's my commitment.
Thank you, Elgin. Anyone else?
My commitment is I'm going to share your page with our constituents and make sure that that information is out there, because we are partners, and I appreciate that.
Thank you, Andrea. Anyone else?
This is not a commitment so much, Agar. I feel like I'm about to make a boss move, but this is a reminder that Catherine told us all to invite people to Breaking Bread. And it was so great to see Gigi come, and it's so great to see Cheryl, and it's so great to see Miriam. And so we know it works when we invite people. So every third Wednesday, I think we should each commit to bringing people in.
Yeah, that's the good point. Thank you so much, Jackie.
So I have two commitments. My first one is kind of what Jenna was talking about, like verbiage, just thinking more about the types of terms that I personally use. What do I use when I'm creating something? And how can I use inclusive language that's not demeaning, or it doesn't have negative feelings and connotations to it. The other thing is, this is something that I've talked to Jenna a lot about, but just with community food education, how do we at MANA create more of a community? And I'm just always thinking through, and kind of like what Elgin is saying, like connecting across teams with Elgin, with Agar, to talk about how do we collaborate together and form this community where it isn't MANA and participant. We're all MANA. It's all one thing. So yeah, it's a little scattered still, but it's a goal
Very
in progress.
Nice idea. Yeah, very nice idea. I remember you talk about this idea before, and we just have to look forward to see how we can implement it, have a kind of meeting together and share what we learn from our respective work. Yeah. Anyone else? We have only 1 minute left, and I will just say thank you so much to each and every one of you who joined the meeting today, and I'm looking forward to seeing you on June 16. Thank you so much for coming.
Thanks, Jose, for presenting.
Thanks, Jose.
Nice job, Jose. Thank you for facilitating, Agar.
Thank you. Thank you, Jenna, for hosting.